he did this to me. He's probably done it to many others. And again, like who is it? Who do you think it is? It's the title of the video. It's the only reason you clicked on this video. It's Mr. Beast. It was Mr. Beast. So apparently Mr. Beast was the person who gambled and they basically channel, like his perspective. So this video did happen, and this is all the way
the lad. For whatever reason, Vulcan helped to make 15,000 cookies and donated to people in.
Malad says that he made 1,000 cookies. It took him 4 days in the kitchen. He also had to pay for his flight in North Carolina where the shoot was taking place. Because as you know, that's where Mr. Beast, I guess the Beast compound is, the breast compound.
He invited me over his house after I spent 4 days straight in the kitchen making 50,000 cookies for his charity. Bought tickets to fly out to North Carolina.
And on top of that, he had to basically pay for the ingredients to, make the cookies. And that apparently cost him around $10,000.
And spent $10,000 of my own money on said cookies for his charity. And then he told me to send him all the Bitcoin in my Coinbase account and gamble it away in under 4 minutes.
I mean, you think if it was a collab, Milad would have had like his flights paid for, the ingredients paid for. I was kind of surprised that he wasn't, but then again, I guess Milad would have had a flight there. So I guess to not make the collab totally free, basically have to pay his way there and pay to actually have people buy themselves. I mean, the players do like those things pretty well, but like maybe those things like rent distribution, But one thing that I could show is a transaction history with Bitcoin wallet.
There are many ways to say that this is the transaction. You gotta love the blockchain, it doesn't miss a thing.
And this is one thing I've noticed about this news is a lot of people get say, we're going to need a little block down here. Definitely hope that one thing is that you have to come out of the well, if they're going to do situations like this, well, then during the part of the transaction, and that's really fun, and they're pretty shots. People will still copy that as well. Now, the last one is doing this, the initial taking the red one, told him to get the most best start on that content. That's all the shit that this country for myself. I essentially going against all of one of the coming out and trying to tear down the shoot of a Porsche outside fire. Along the wires, along the sides, spread it like I don't care. Something scary. What's to be done? Scared right now, honestly. I'm pretty terrified. I'm scared of Egypt. I'm scared of money. I'm terrified to tell the story about this guy. But I have allergies. So that was hard to make those straight. I got it wrong. It's exactly I'm going to force him off the road. Yeah, I don't think I did well, one of the best things on the television back. I don't want my money back. I don't want an apology. I want you to know that what you did was I want you to really think about it. If there's any other thing that's done wrong, ask me for the time. I don't want you to adjust this. I do not set the expectations. And then like videos
Hey, break wide on this one. We can push wide. Bring him in.
I don't want to go there. I don't expect people. I don't want to affect those people.
Now, the real question here is if this is true, if this happened, would it be possibly true? Well, I will screenshot the way I'll show you. So, the Bitcoin account, there wasn't really any updates or evidence. At the end of the wallet direction. show the video, and the Bitcoin was censored, and it will show that transaction was actually made in May 2021, and not before the collaboration. That being said as well, the account is basically zero at all, and why that just might have made the account like a single transaction, and then basically never touched the account again. Now, in any bizarre some events, the lad actually ended up taking down all the accounts, and again,
I made contact.
so the other gentleman possibly used to that name, it got why did you take it down? It was like a really strange, bizarre way. But also part of the video name that's everything. Well, there was an account with 8 followers, and they put out a tweet that people justice of the lad. So I think they're like one of the candidates. Basically, you know, the summary of what the lad was saying in the video, and it's only got like 30 it just went completely under the radar. I'm not saying there isn't tweet that blow up, it's like less reliable, but it's just showing that the thought patterns here are a little bit bizarre, because the lad actually chose this tweet to reply to saying, hey, it was a misunderstanding, and I deleted the video. Which, again, like, that brings more questions than answers. Where did this misunderstanding come from? You seem pretty certain that you gave him $20,000 worth of over $20,000 worth of Bitcoin. You gambled it, and you never got it back, and he ghosted you. I mean, again, Milad made that video, like, even calling out Mr. Beast by name, so he must have been pretty confident in, like, the evidence that he had, or the proof, or, like, you know, his recollection of events. I mean, in the video that he took down, he even ends it with, like, a middle finger saying, "F you, Mr. Beast."
But I'm talking to you right now, Jimmy, only you, for what you did to me.
So, I don't understand how it's gone from, like, hating this guy to then switching up and saying, oh, it was a misunderstanding. I had a dream. I had a dream where you gambled $20,000 worth of Bitcoin. I mean, there could be, like, a myriad of reasons here.
Love to see thousands of people protesting in Alaska against the Trump regime for allowing Vladimir to step on American soil in Alaska. Shout out to our friends at the group called Stand Up Alaska in Anchorage for leading these powerful protests in Anchorage. They said, we don't appreciate authoritarian dictators being invited to our state. Take a look at some of these signs from the protests in Anchorage as Vladimir Putin has landed in Anchorage, and as Donald Trump heads there as well for these meetings where Donald Trump intends to sell out Ukraine and our allies to Vladimir Putin. You have signs like this: Ukraine and Alaska, Russia never again. Abducted 19,546 Ukrainian kids. Trump can release them. ReleaseTheKids.com. Look at how many people showed up. You see this ban keeping them light at the protests. You have signs like this: Putin is a war criminal. Alaska stands with Ukraine. Here's another great sign: Zelensky should be here. You know, Donald Trump and Vladimir intentionally not allowing Zelensky to be in Alaska for this meeting where Donald Trump and Putin intend to discuss giving chunks away of Ukrainian land to Putin. The way it's been described by the Telegraph is that Donald Trump and Putin are discussing an arrangement that looks like the Israeli occupation of the West Bank or Gaza, and bringing that to Ukraine, but having Russia do the occupation of Ukrainian territory, which will become Russian territory. More signs like this: you can go home and take your orange puppet with you. Other great signs for Ukraine. The way the Anchorage Daily News reports this: Trump and Putin are set to meet today on joint base Elmendorf-Richardson. So remember, during Donald Trump's first administration, he invited the Taliban to go to Camp David on the anniversary of 9/11. Well, now Donald Trump has Putin in an Air Force base and a military base on American soil, where he Putin and Russia consider Alaska to be part of Russia. Protesters of all age gathered at the intersection of Superhighway and Northern Lights Boulevard. Honks and hooters resonated. Ukrainian flags were everywhere, as was a marching band, a cadre of foreign news correspondents, and a slate of creative signs, some protesting Trump policies unrelated to the summit, while others more specifically talking Putin and Trump. Quote, "I can see fascists from my house," one sign read, in a play on a Saturday Night Live spoof of former Governor Sarah Palin's now famous 2008 remark on the proximity of Alaska and Russia. "Putin won't stop at Ukraine," read another sign, alluding to a concern among some Alaskans that Putin would attempt to reassert control over Alaska, which was sold from Russia to the U.S. in 1867. So powerful protest indeed. You see right there Putin's jet in Anchorage. Putin is now in Alaska on American soil. This is such a humiliating day that will live in infamy for the United States of America. Donald Trump disgracing our country. That's what's happening in Alaska. Of course, we're going to be covering everything that is happening there today from every angle. Let's go to Washington, D.C., where Donald Trump has taken over, is asserting the ability to take over the Metropolitan Police Department, a fascist takeover there. Donald Trump putting the National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. They're shutting down streets, setting up checkpoints unlawfully. You see them here at Union Station, roving gangs of federal militarized people, whether it's National Guards or others, roving Washington, D.C., harassing people, just kind of generally walking in circles. One of the things that we're learning right now as well is that Attorney General Pam Bondi basically claims that she can fire the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department chief, Terry Cole, and to replace the chief, or rather to put in Terry Cole, who's currently the head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, and replace the current commissioner of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Bondi issued an order saying that the head of the DEA, Cole, will assume all powers and duties of the chief, and everyone needs to report to the DEA right now. If you're a Metropolitan Police Department, Washington, D.C.'s Mayor Bowser, and D.C.'s Attorney General Brian Schwab call the utter unlawful and saying that they will not comply with this order, and they're not going to have the Metropolitan Police Department, the chief, be fired. But a very dystopian scene there in Washington, D.C. It should be noted as well that when California Governor Gavin Newsom was giving his powerful speech yesterday in Los Angeles at the Japanese Heritage Museum, a scene where back in the World War II period, Japanese internment camps were created and people's rights were violated back then. Donald Trump sent his Gestapo ICE agents and Border Patrol agents to attack the location, to arrest people and rough people up and intimidate people at the venue where California Governor Gavin Newsom was talking about a ballot initiative to protect democracy. Here's how they reported about it on Fox yesterday as well. Let's play this clip.
Border Patrol agents are making arrests, illegal immigrants, and I don't know if they were at this press conference, if they were in the area, but this is a very, as John put it when we first saw this video, a very in-your-face way to let, Democrats know that you are going to do your job, that you're going to carry out these Trump policies. Can you just respond to this video that we're watching right now?
Yeah, every single one of our ICE and Border Patrol operations is built on information, on investigative work. It's a case and an operation that has been planned because of who they think could be in that area.
So we take you from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles. Now we take you to UK, Scotland, where we have, where J.D. Vance has been taking lavish vacations. This whole summer, J.D. Vance has been on vacations to Disneyland and San Diego. He shut down Disneyland. He was in San Diego, despite the fact that he says he hates California. He spent like weeks in California. He had the Army Corps of Engineers raise the water levels in Ohio so that he could have a better kayak experience. He then went to the UK. And one of the things we're learning right now is there was a staff mutiny at a very famous restaurant there. They refused to serve J.D. Vance, and they all said they weren't going to show up if this restaurant allowed J.D. Vance to be there. A staff mutiny forced the management of a plush British countryside pub to turn away J.D. Vance. Just weeks after the same venue hosted Kamala Harris, according to reports, the vice president had reportedly attempted to dine at the Bull and Charlbury, Oxfordshire, an early 16th century countryside pub that was a Michelin star restaurant. And they said, the staff said, we're not showing up if you allow J.D. Vance. So I like to see resistance and fighting back in LA, in Anchorage, in Washington, D.C., where I showed people protesting yesterday, and the mayor saying we're not following those orders. And there we've seen protests in the UK where Donald Trump was in Aberdeen. We saw protests there. We're seeing people refuse to serve J.D. Vance. All things we like to see here. It's important that we push back, punch back, assert ourselves moral, formal authority against fascism, and we have to do it fearlessly together. Donald Trump, record low approvals. If you look at the Pew Research poll, Donald Trump is one of the lowest approval rates in modern presidential history, and it's only going to continue to plummet even more. You look at some of Donald Trump's actions lately, I mean, it is pure Marxist, Maoist, however you want to refer to it. Right now, the Trump regime is discussing basically seizing control. They say buying a stake in Intel. After Trump met with the Intel CEO, they want to seize portions of Intel. They are requiring companies like NVIDIA and others to pay them like tribute taxes if they want to be able to export. I mean, we quite literally have central government planning, but we have to be like we shouldn't. But these MAGA Republicans and these business shows, these MAGA business shows, they want to lecture us that somehow free health care and free education and allowing people who are hungry to be able to eat food, that oh my God, that's socialism, that's so horrible. I mean, Donald Trump is literally running like a People's Republic of China style cultural, like destroying law firms, destroying businesses, seizing power. I mean, it's absolutely despicable what's happening there. By the way, this was Donald Trump's bizarre press conference yesterday in the Oval Office, where he was asked if he was going to give Vladimir Putin rare earth minerals from Ukraine and natural resources from Alaska in order to get Putin to make it. Trump's so thirsty for a deal with Putin that he wants to sell out Ukraine. And by the way, remember when Donald Trump did that rare earth mineral deal with Ukraine? He bullied them to give America the rights to Ukrainian rare earth minerals, and then Trump said we would defend Ukraine as, you know, if we have a rare earth mineral deal. Trump wants to take the rare earth minerals from that deal and give them to Putin. That's part of the plan, in addition to a Gaza-style occupation. Watch, which is what the language they're using. Watch what he says yesterday. Here, play this clip.
Are you prepared to offer Vladimir access to rare minerals and incentivize them? Okay, I'm going to see what happens. We're going to be a big meeting. It's going to be, I think, very important for Russia. It's going to be very important for us. Important for us only to be able to save a lot of lives.
Then just finally, at the same time, Donald Trump sending emails claiming that the disastrous budget bill has no tax on Social Security. That's not true. It has a deduction, a temporary deduction for a few years that phases out. The tax cuts for billionaires permanent. The deduction on Social Security of about $6,000, I think that lasts until like 2028. There is nothing in the disastrous budget bill that says no tax on tips, but Donald Trump literally says no tax on Social Security. No tax on Social Security is not in the disastrous budget bill. And then finally, you take a look at the producer price inflation, which is basically wholesaler inflation yesterday, surging horribly. The inflation data is so bad right now. Inflation is sharply rising every month. It's going to continue to rise as Donald Trump's disastrous tariffs against the world are backfiring. I'm going to do a whole other video again on California Governor Gavin Newsom pushing back against Donald Trump. Check that out. I'm going to do a whole other video this morning about President Zelensky pushing back against Trump. Check out that video when I release it.
Surely it's going to be even better, right? So far, it's not very good. Yeah, and if I still had my Gorgon packs, I would absolutely let you walk me through that. Sadly, the time has passed. Oh god, the mouse round. You just know that Rick Thomas says in the ending cutscene, we are Black Ops 7 zombies. If only. Alright, mouse back off. Failing to kill them. This is looking a little rough. But yeah, if you kill them, even if you're really close, they don't seem to do any damage. The problem is that if they get behind you, it doesn't matter. I think I'm going to upgrade this thing. Actually, let's spin this first.
It isn't often that a zombies map releases which captures the essence of exactly what the developers had intended. And when that blend of near-perfect artistry, gameplay, and narrative all hit the right notes, a synergy is created that elevates the zombies experience to what can only be described as an iconic status. When looking back at Black Ops 4, it's clear that DLC 2 was the pinnacle moment for the game, as what came before and after its debut all but shattered the community into a million little pieces. And while hindsight is 20/20, it doesn't always prove to be the full truth, as those same goggles that we use to view the past can also become hazy with our nostalgia. Ancient Evil sits in a very special place in time, as it not only served as the showpiece for Black Ops 4, but it revealed to fans what could have been if things had only worked out differently. But unfortunately, it was just too late. January 15th is a day just like any other for most people, but for you watching this video and myself, well, we know it to be something a little more special. 115 Day, a day that lives infamously in the hearts of many Zombies fans around the globe, as it represents the sole purpose of our mode's narrative existence, Element 115. Over the years, Treyarch has generally tried to do something cheeky or special to excite the Zombies community. It's never anything huge, but things like triple-double XP, discounts on consumables in the shop, and perhaps a blog post touching base with the community. It's all pretty par for the course. However, on 115 Day during Black Ops 4's life cycle, we received a short video from Jason Blundell going over a handful of tweets that fans had sent in, and while most were not anything too exciting, there was one question in response from Jason that did grab the attention of the player base. It says, can you tease what's going to be in DLC 2? What a very good and direct question. If I can say that on these kind of Twitters and YouTube's social media things,
It's all great to me. That one little line of "it's all Greek to me" was all that was needed to officially confirm where our next Zombies map was taking place. And while more dedicated fans were able to infer this from the ending cutscene on the Bridge of Despair, no one was ever truly certain if Delphi would be a location our characters would explore in this alleged first season of Zombies content. What was curious about learning this small bit of information was that we were only in the middle of January, which meant that DLC 2 wasn't going to be coming anytime soon. And while of course we had 5 maps to play inside of Black Ops 4, people were already clamoring for the next DLC as fans were beginning to accept the Chaos storyline and become interested in this new crew's adventures, a sentiment which I will come back to in just a bit. Operation Grand Heist launched on February 19th, 2019, but unfortunately, the wait for DLC 2 would continue and the drip feeding of smaller bits of content would have to suffice. A new gauntlet on Classified, a new perk, Ethereal Razor, and some new weapons obviously help to satiate players' appetites, but nothing satisfies that craving like a new Zombies map for players to sink their teeth into, which wasn't coming until sometime in late March. We weren't even sure at this point. However, we learned quite a bit of information about Treyarch's plans regarding their DLC model, as it appeared that we were going to be receiving our content in some sort of seasonal delivery method. This implied that the next map would be capping things off for the Chaos storyline temporarily, while we would then return to Ether to finish Primus and Ultimus' tragic tale.
This map represents the last map of the Chaos story for this season.
Jason, where are you going with this?
So this
What could it mean?
So this is the cliffhanger here.
Maybe a step too far, but this one.
You can go higher and pitch if you try. So this is the last one of the Chaos story for this season. So the next two, so going to our DLC 3 and DLC 4, will be back to
Fans started clamoring that this must mean we would be receiving even more Zombies content after the life cycle of the game, meaning that there would be more maps, modes, and content variety than any other Zombies games before it. And while the wait for the next chapter in the Ether story was grueling, this trade of player patience for a year or two of content was something I think most fans were okay with making. Now, a few moments ago, I mentioned there was a bit of a shift occurring inside of the community regarding the acceptance of Black Ops 4 Zombies. It wasn't that the majority of people were ecstatic about Ether being pushed back so late into the DLC cycle, but most players knew that there wasn't anything that they could do about it, and so as the dust began to settle from the initial total whiplash from the launch of BO4, so did the players' vitriol begin to wither. Jason Blundell knew at the beginning of the game's life cycle that there would be a dissonance and severe pushback from the fanbase, and stated publicly that he would remain calm and not resort to any radical decision-making due to fan outcry in the early phases of the game.
The thing I say is, so much stuff has changed that I'm not going to be listening for a little bit. I'm going to let everyone settle down and get to know it.
Now, the problem with Jason's statement here is that it seems like his entire philosophy rested on the presupposition that the community was only going to be upset about the gameplay changes, and this was only partly true as they made one crucial error with their calculation. The devs simply didn't consider how the introduction of Chaos and sidelining of the Ether crew would affect the player base, especially when the story was at its most pivotal moments. And so while Jason and Craig were telling fans in early 2019 that we were going to be experiencing a seasonal model of content, that mythical year 2 of Zombies that we've always wanted, the truth was that Activision was nervous at how Zombies was faring and would likely abandon ship the first chance they could, which is exactly what happened. You see, when you combine this overwhelming sense of negativity from the fans with Activision's first major investment into Zombies, at least at this scale anyways, it would make sense that any company would want to pivot to fix the mistakes that lay at their feet. And with the crazy mixed reception towards each Zombies map that we have received inside of Black Ops 4, it makes sense that Activision would assume fans would likely reject Ancient Evil just as well. The only problem was, they were completely wrong.
Software. It's not something
So what was it exactly about Ancient Evil that was so appealing to the fanbase? Was it the map's narrative, the world building and art design, or maybe it was the Easter egg? Well, funnily enough, it was a bit of everything, as finally, after months of waiting, the Chaos storyline started to gain some momentum. Even though Dead of the Night was the final nail in the coffin for Black Ops 4, the map still brought a lot of value in terms of the storyline, as well as the substantial backstory explaining what the Order was up to through the High Priest of Chaos cutscene and the Dead of the Night music video. And when you Combine that information with what was presented to fans inside of Voyage of Despair and 9, we were finally all caught up and ready for the weaving of all major narrative threads to come together, setting us up for the next crucial piece of exposition. At this point, Treyarch was going out of their way to deliver an ample story information that could have simply been told inside of a radio, cipher, or comic, so it was clear that Ancient Evil was gearing up to be something spectacular, as even the devs were giddy during their live stream presentations. After our 4 main characters were decapitated at the end of 9, it turned out to all just be a hallucination, as their untimely demise returned them back to the same cave where they again hear a familiar voice, the same one that instructed them to inhale those vapors. As our crew begins to gather their composure,